All right, how's everyone doing today? So we're going to dive into this concept of a team consciousness. And a team consciousness is what you have when you engage in a pursuit for a common goal with a collective. The easiest way to describe this is through a team. So we'll describe it as if we are playing a sport with a team. Now, what you have with your team is a sort of collective consciousness, not in some collective unconsciousness sense of Carl Jung, but an actual consciousness. Like you are all on the same page about what you are doing. And how this comes about is your whole team agrees upon the goals. Your whole team has an understanding of what you are participating in. They know the rules. So again, we'll use the example of a sport. They know the rules of the game. They know the field of play. They know each other, and they agree to engage in this pursuit together. So they're all on the same page from the start. So just from a base level, you kind of share this conscious space with your teammates. You could say that the consciousness of your teammates are extended into each other. And this allows you to act as a unit on the field. Now from here, there are differing degrees of alignment within that team consciousness. And the team that has a better cohesion has a better or a more clear consciousness. And what we see is the most cohesive teams operate most completely as a unit. And the ones that lack that cohesion are usually overcome very easily. So we'll use the example of communication on the floor. This is a key component for being a successful team. And what happens is each individual on the floor can only know so much. They only have their field of vision. There's only so much they can see at a time. Even with their head on a swivel, there's only so much that you can perceive and appreciate. You have to deal with your personal assignment, and that lends itself to you losing sight of the rest of the floor. There's more going on than what one individual can conceive of at a given time. Now, where that communication comes into play is it reveals the aspects of the floor, of the game, that aren't clear to you as you are engaging in the assignment. And the more clear and the more consistent that communication is, the wider your perception of the field is. So as you are engaging in a sport, if each teammate is doing their individual role while also having that aspect of consciousness, the need to perceive the other aspects of the floor that are behind them or out of their field of vision or out of their awareness, if those things are brought into their awareness by good communication, then they have that picture completed, and that actually leads or lends itself to better play, better capacity to complete your individual assignment. So I'll use the example of lacrosse for this. When you are the player assigned to the ball, when your man is that ball carrier and you're playing defense, you have to focus on what that ball carrier is doing. You can't be looking behind you to see what's going on the other end of the floor. But that doesn't mean the other side of the floor is irrelevant to what you are doing, because that offensive player can pass the ball across the floor or set up a play on the other side of the floor, and his positioning is dependent on what he wants to have happen. And if his team is playing as a unit and trying to set up a particular play, he has to get to a certain point on the floor for that to happen. Meanwhile, you, as the defender, are unaware of what his specific goals are. You just have to make sure that you do your best to anticipate and react so that he gets as little of a chance to make his system come about. Now, what happens with a good team is they will communicate what is going on. You will hear a pick coming. You will hear if a cut is coming. You will be told if you have no help in a certain area of the field, or if you do have help. And all of these pieces kind of lead you to be more confident in your decisions and reposition yourself in a way to play that ball carrier so that he has less opportunities to make his system come about. So in a way, all of that communication offloads the conscious thinking required to have a full scope of the floor to your other players on the floor. Each player then has more capacity to play their role without thinking, to engage in the game, engage in their goal in an automatic sense. And when they engage automatically, they're much more efficient. There's less paralysis by analysis. When you are sitting there constantly trying to analyze and come to conclusions about what's going on and what you need to do, then you lose sight of your automatic engagement in the activity. So to create those opportunities for success on the floor, you have to become a more cohesive, conscious unit. There needs to be less individuals thinking for themselves and more unified, more of a collective thinking for each other. And so you do that on the floor by communicating first and foremost. Off the floor, for example, in practice, you do this by establishing who has what role, understanding where they fit within a system, defining that system, and ensuring that everyone will participate in their role when the time comes. You also have to build team trust off the floor, better relationships. You have to know the guys that you are on a team with so that you feel comfortable performing your duty and that you know the other guy will have your back in the situation on the floor. So all these things are required for making the most success as a conscious unit. So at the end of the day, if you want success as a team, it doesn't just require raw skills. It requires having the capacity to offload your thinking to the unit as opposed to individuals. And the team that can most efficiently think as a group as opposed to thinking as individuals will find more room for success on the floor. So that's all I got for today. We'll see you around.